America's Role in the Middle East by Michael Etling Jr. for Dr. Ding's International Relations course at Bloomsburg University of Pennsylvania, spring 2018. The history of America's role in the Middle East from 1945 to 2008. During World War II, the U.S. stationed troops in Iran to help transfer supplies to the former Soviet Union and protect Iranian oil reserves. U.S. involvement increased after President Truman solidified a relationship with Turkey's former leadership. Turkey then became a member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, otherwise known as NATO. However, unfortunately for the United States, the Soviet Union had an opposing influence on Iran. President John F. Kennedy increased monetary support to the region during his 3 years as president. Under President Jimmy Carter, at the Camp David Accord in 1978 and 1979, he facilitated a much-needed peace treaty between Egypt and Israel. This peace treaty between Egypt and Israel led to a massive increase in U.S. aid to them, which they needed very much. In April of 1983, a truck bomb demolished the U.S. Embassy in Beirut and killed 63 people. Later that year in October, simultaneous planned bombings killed 241 American service members and 57 French paratroopers. In 1986, the Iran-Contra agreement was made, which negotiated arms for hostages. It took until December of 1991 for the last hostage to be released. The Reagan administration supported Israel's expansion of Jewish settlements in occupied territories and Saddam Hussein in the 1988 Iraq War. As far as the Iran-Contra agreement goes, the Reagan administration got a lot of backlash because many people thought the United States was negotiating with terrorists. From 1989 to 1993, President George H.W. Bush served as the commander-in-chief. Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait on August 2, 1990, and then President Bush launched Operation Desert Shield. After getting involved, Bush had to shift his strategy from Desert Shield to Desert Storm. A 38-day air campaign and a 100-hour ground war liberated Kuwait from Saddam Hussein's control. In an attempt to cause a revolt, Hussein massacred Shiites in the south and Kurds in the north. He also let a lot of oil reserves burn. From 1993 to 2001, under Democrat President Bill Clinton, a very, very short-lived Oslo Accord happened in August of 1993. Also in 1993, the World Trade Center was bombed for the first time. Unfortunately, at the end of 2000, in December, Camp David summit collapsed. And also, the USS Cole was bombed off the coast of Yemen. Under President George W. Bush, from 2001 to 2008, he had a very trying time as president. We all know the dreadful day, September 11, 2001, when hijackers overtook passenger airliners and used them as weapons to crash them in the strategic locations around the United States East Coast. In October of 2001, President Bush led an attack in Afghanistan with notable support around the world. The Taliban regime in Afghanistan gave refuge to Al-Qaeda. He also invaded Iraq. Getting back to September 11th, this quote from thehistorychannel.com states, on September 11, 2001, 19 militants associated with the Islamic extremist group Al-Qaeda hijacked 4 airplanes and carried out suicide attacks against targets in the United States. Two of the planes were flown into the towers of the World Trade Center in New York City and Manhattan. A third plane hit the Pentagon just outside of Washington, D.C., and the fourth plane crashed in a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Almost 3,000 people were killed during the 9/11 terrorist attacks, which triggered major U.S. initiatives to combat terrorism and defend the presidency of George W. Bush. The post 9/11 United States. President Bush led an invasion of the Middle East beginning in October of 2001. President Bush also had worldwide support and an entire nation behind him. Saddam Hussein was finally removed from power by U.S. forces. To establish stability in the Middle East, the United States desperately tried to create democracy in the region. With Saddam Hussein removed from power, the Shiite Arab majority claimed the government. This was the first time in modern history that the Middle East saw a Shiite-ran government. And it's ironic because they're the majority of the population. The minority Sunnis formed the rebellion to combat the new form of government. Modern violence. The violence caused by the rebellion grew into a civil war. As a result of the civil war between the Shiite and Sunni militias, religious extremists grew. Al-Qaeda began to claim northwest Iraq, which was a Sunni tribal land. Al-Qaeda promoted terrible and harsh tactics, for example, car bombings. ISIS also began. Turkey and the United States has had a rocky past. There's an air base there that many U.S. troops have been through, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers built in the 1950s. This air base was very strategic for the United States during the Cold War, easy access to Russia, but the complicated history left many Turkish people not fond of U.S. involvement. The local economy crashed due to the U.S. families not living over there, and recently the U.S. was blamed for developing a coup against the Turkish president. Turkey also disapproved of the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003. The airbase I was just talking about is still there, but they're struggling, and hopefully we regain trust.